It's like a dance team. They work together. They function as a unit.
5 seconds, and the point guard has to fire it out for a desperation.
Wow.
Three, and he answers. Big hoop for Gray. His second three. Remember, he hit those 8 Tuesday in Austin.
And what a great defensive effort right there. 5 men guys. They couldn't do it any better than that. That's the best shot they can get.
And then a turnover. So Wake Forest suddenly can put together field goals.
I mean, you and I are singing the praises here, their defensive effort. Look at this. They have to kick it all the way out. And he shot that from down in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Now let's see what the defense can do here.
Take a look at the three-point numbers thus far.
Danilus has it knocked away. Ding with that great reach, but they give it back. Sloppy coming out with the basketball.
Wake's got to have a spurt right now. They got to have a spurt to go into the locker room with some feeling of momentum that you can win, not just compete. Only down 9 right now. Look at the turnovers are equal. I love this little guy. What a great
High
attitude.
screen from Danilus, and that's his first field goal of the game, and it's a big one because suddenly he has made this a 6-point game, back-to-back threes.
All of a sudden, you knock down 2 trifectas. We were talking about how important it is to make the 3. Gray and Paul answer, and you got yourself a basketball game.
Now Wake needs to toughen up the D down by the basket. Williams is fouled. They doubled him up, and he is fouled down by the baseline.
Very tough to double up on Duke because once you double up, if they rotate the ball, they're going to get an open shot. Look at Skip Rossi. He's relaxed. What a great job he did at Xavier. Was an assistant for years there under Pete Gillen. Took over and did a phenomenal job. There was some worry that he was going to go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh offered him the job and turned down. It's his hometown to stay at Wake. They got him a contract like you got. You know, mega dollars to keep you there. By the way, great job in the Sugar Bowl partner. You did a phenomenal job. You know, I'm a football nut as well as basketball. Gary and you did a great job.
Yeah, Gary Daniels and I were blessed with LSU in Oklahoma. Ended up being a dandy at a football game down in New Orleans.
Should have been blessed with LSU and Southern Cal.
That would have been great. We'd have done it the next week if they'd asked us.
It seems so easy to do.
Gateway Computers had offered me that kind of money, I'd have been there.
So easy to do.
Well, tomorrow, American Olympic medalist Casey Fitzrandolph, Kip Carpenter, Joy Cheek, and Jennifer Rodriguez go for the gold. The World Sprint Skating Championships tomorrow, Dick, at 3 Eastern noon right here on ABC Sports.
I'll tell you one thing about Wake Forest. They got a bunch of gutty kids with a great winning mentality, and they're not just going to roll over. They're going to be battling here all afternoon. Wide open, and missed Danilus inside.
Williams did a great job, Dick, of getting a hand on that ball.
They need Danilus in that lineup. They really need him. He's an experienced player. Preseason was picked all ACC. He's had a high ankle sprain. Here he is on a baseline.
Danilus goes down that 12-foot jumper from the wing, and it's 27-23. A lot of credit now to Wake Forest. They have battled their way back in, and Coach K is furious with this team letting this big lead slip away.
And you got to credit, as you said, Wake Forest. He's an excellent medium-range shot. That's a shot that's really lost now in college.
You could see from the field, suddenly Wake Forest warming up. And believe me, Coach K is not talking down there about his offense. It's the defense.
Hey, one thing about Wake,
look at the intensity that this man brings to this. Out of Chicago, Illinois, went to West Point, played for Bobby Knight, coached at West Point, came down here, struggled in his early years, and then he put together the big Blue Devil machine.
First 3 years won a total of 38 games. But they had an impatient AD. Instead, they had a brilliant guy in Tom Butters who was willing to wait it out. Can you imagine if the AD was the guy at Nebraska, Steve Peterson? We might not have had a Mike Krzyzewski. I mean, he gets rid of Frank Solich, who wins over 70% of his games because he said they weren't contending with Oklahoma. How sick is that? Patience is a great virtue. Something I wish I had. It's great seeing you. I haven't seen you so long. Hey, he just invited me to Montana. I've never been to Montana. I'm going to your farm out there. Get a horse. I want to ride a horse.
We got some horses for you, partner. I got some for you out there. I got one that's got your name all over it. Yippee-yi-yi-ki. Folks, can you see Mr. Vitale in a hat and boots, baby? Huh? 10 seconds and hold on for your life, baby. I got a few. We'll take you over to Miles City where they sell them bucking horses.
I get Scott Blake to help me, man. Your sons. They really need the crowd here today. Coach Krzyzewski said we have to feel the adrenaline coming from this crowd. Our legs might be a little tired after the effort we gave Thursday, but this crowd will not disappoint them.
Ewing fouls Gray, moves to the free throw line here at the 4:17 mark.
That's some interesting things that can happen today in college basketball. North Carolina very capable of beating anyone at home. Great starting five. Roy Williams has brought back the excitement. If they beat Connecticut, and Okafor starting to play like Okafor now, but if they beat Connecticut and Duke wins here, Duke can go deja vu to Maryland as #1 in America. And last year when they went #1 down there to Terp Country, you and I did the game, Duke got beat.
Handoff for the high screen for you. It frees Duhon. Coming around, misses the three. And Gray to the glass for Wake Forest. And you cannot say enough about the Demon Deacons comeback. Danilus is loose. Missed the left-handed shot, but tapped back in by Strickland.
Strickland, a good athlete, a runner and jumper, earned the start after his performance against Texas with 22. See, they're getting a little momentum now going in at halftime. This happened also the other night for Maryland. They were really struggling. The ball goes in deep. Williams scores. They were struggling against North Carolina, but made a run at the half, and it came out and won.
Danilus misses the three. Randolph seals off the glass. Duke draws the foul underneath.
They got to get Danilus into game condition. Situation practice is one thing, but he hasn't had a whole lot of game action because of an ankle sprain, and he's too valuable to this team if they're going to win the ACC championship in a regular season again.
Now 3:33 to go. 31-25. Wake battled their way back in this. They don't want to let it get away from them here in the closing 3 minutes of the first half.
And you don't want to put this kid on a free throw line. I mean, he missed one now. He may not miss another one for a month. Look at that follow through for you young people out there. Look at a great follow through, the rotation, the backspin, the extension.
Another reminder of what's coming up on the TGI Fridays halftime report. Pittsburgh, are they staying unbeaten against Rutgers? And then a big one coming up on Big Monday against Connecticut. Georgia against Kentucky. Now the SEC, and a look ahead to the Timberwolves and the Rockets. That follows this NBA action here on ABC Championship Television. Right now, the Blue Devils lead the Demon Deacons 33-25. Two good basketball teams here at Duke. Elena Beard at 9:15 this morning working out, and then she said, wait a minute, that's a cameraman up there shooting me. I'm just out here for an early morning shoot around by myself. What you doing up there? She's one of the best in the country, Dick.
Oh, without a doubt. Their team is one of the best. Obviously, #1 right now. Talked to Gail Gustin-Kors earlier. Hey, I got a little... If somebody could spell the name Krzyzewski and Gustin-Kors, I'd give them a prize, but I can't make the offer because somebody will cheat out there. Can you imagine spelling those two names?
Meanwhile, Eric Williams with a big hoop for the Deacons after that timeout. They get it low, and there's a block and the foul called. If there is a problem with 6'9" Eric Williams of Wake Forest, it's the foul situation. And of course, he fouled out for the first time this season last Tuesday night. As we follow up that story with the men and the women, both programs in the top 25 here.
Take a look at those top three. Unbelievable. You know, Stanford, we haven't talked a lot of men's basketball. You talk about balance. They got 5 great starters, and they did something that's unheard of to me. to go 4 consecutive years to McKale Center and beat Arizona 4 times in a row up in Arizona. I mean, that is unbelievably unique. You and I, great chance, do that Stanford-Arizona game, the rematch, which will be down there at February 7th, right down there in Palo Alto. Mike Montgomery has to be right now. If you're picking a star of stars in the coaching fraternity, he'd have to be my choice as National Coach of the Year, followed by Skip Prosser as number 2.
They better get it done at Stanford because UCLA is coming on.
Well, they will. I'll tell you, they're a program on a rise. Ben Holland's got them buying into his system. And when he gets players like he'll get starting next year, UCLA will be back.
So here it's 34-27, 3 minutes to go in the first half. Senior Duhan controlling the dribble, and Williams steps out away from the basket, bringing Eric with him. Now he puts it on the floor, jump pass inside low to Ding. Good ball handling by Ding. He was in very low that time. Soft hands and the field goal.
Well, nice job executing. Horizontal screen, got them free inside. Very unselfish play. Another trademark of winning programs like Duke. Make the extra pass.
Now Eric double teamed, blocked by Sheldon Williams, and putting it down is Duhan, and Duke spurting again.
Got to get Ewing free for a jumper.
The 3 from Ewing. Got it. On cue. And just like that, Dick, it is 39-27. The lead is back to a dozen.
And the momentum has arrived at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Look at his 1,500 on the SATs going wacko. Here's Duhan going to find his buddy, Mr. Ewing, who's been shooting the 3 exceptionally well lately. He and J.J. Redick have found their rhythm. They're healthy. And when they're making threes, they are so tough. Look at these kids, Brett. All 1,500 on the SATs. I had 1,500. I took it 3 times. 500, 500, 500.
Well, snowboard slopestyle women's ERX next Saturday. Don't miss a minute of the high-flying action as ABC Sports heads to Aspen to kick off coverage of the 2004 Winter X Games. It all begins next Saturday at 1 Eastern, 3 Pacific, right here on ABC. Prosser was not a happy coach during that timeout. He got right in his players' faces that time, urging them to not let down the way they did defensively because they let Duke open up a double-digit lead again.
He's done a great job recruiting in the state of North Carolina. Has an outstanding assistant in Jeff Battle and Dino Gordio, former West Point coach.
Eric forces it against the double team. Great save by Redick into the hands of Randolph.
See, they've watched him so much on tape and video. And Williams, they're really understanding when he's going to release the ball. They're ready for it.
Ewing forces it off the front of the iron into the hands of Daniluk. Let's see now if Wake can take advantage of it. And a block at the other end by Sheldon Williams.
They've been blocking a lot of shots this year. 7.1 per game rather. 47 by Williams coming into this game. There's Williams down in the inside. There's the timing by Randolph. Randolph and Williams were teammates in the AAU competition. Played together with one another. Justin Bray, by the way, know his roommate was in high school? Carmelo Anthony.
Daniluk misses the 3. Dick, looking at Sheldon Williams, he has 6 blocks in this game now. That is number 6. That ties his career high, so he'll break that, you would think, before this game is over. So you talked about his shot blocking prowess, and that's pretty remarkable here already.
Well, you know, the school record is 6.3 in 98-99 season. They're right now averaging 7.1, and it looks like that's going to get higher. You know, great room with Carmelo Anthony, unbelievable. I think the Pistons made a major error not drafting Anthony number 2. And I said it draft day, and I'll say it again. That's a major mistake. What do you think, Mr. Musburger, with the NBA?
Well, I would agree with you off of what I've seen so far, Dick. I watched Carmelo Anthony in a tough game against the Lakers, and I'll tell you, you youngsters who are thinking about going into the NBA right out of high school, you should watch Carmelo Anthony. He knows so much more about the game, having spent a year at Syracuse under college coaching. They don't have time to teach you the fundamentals of the NBA. Even LeBron James would be better served had he gone to college, and they waved that one off. That's 3 ball by by Reddick. You cannot. And, you know, emotionally, as Phil Jackson says, forget about the basketball part of it. The youngsters learn to grow up a little bit better if they go on to college and play with their peers. I think there's no question about it.
Just be a kid. They're forced to grow up. They're forced to grow up so soon. And then they get the posses and all kinds of cash. That's why you got a lot of spoiled guys out there, man. They forget where they came from sometimes. But the greatest athletes in the world are in the NBA. There's no doubt about it.
No question.
Here's now man-to-man. Duke wants to get a stop here. They don't want to get it to single digits. On the other side, Wake Forest wants to get this to single digits.
Gray lost the ball, but it is off Ewing's foot. And speaking of the NBA, don't we all hope that Jason Williams, off that horrific motorcycle accident, makes it back to the Chicago Bulls. His rehab, according to Mike Krzyzewski, is ahead of schedule, but he still has a little problem with the nerve in the one foot. And when you think of where he was that morning after that accident, he's come a long ways. Here's Reddick now off the pass.
Too automatic, Brent. If he squares the body, as you look at Jason Williams, he's cheering. He's a cheerleader, one of the great point guards to play in the ACC. He was special, my friends.
Final 30 seconds. Now let's go back to that one timeout after Wake Forest made the run and got it back to single digits. Now remember the picture you saw of Mike Krzyzewski on the sideline.
He was like a
he is an unbelievable coach, and he's a superb teacher. When you watch him in a practice, as I did yesterday, he bases his entire practice on fundamentals, and his assistant coaches are hands-on. Steve Wojciechowski and Chris Collins do a lot of the individual work for Coach K out on the floor. Now you see the man on the left. Now that is Johnny Dawkins, and yesterday after practice, Coach K said to us, he will probably replace me someday as the head coach here at Duke. That's how much he believes in his coaching staff.
Well, Johnny Dawkins, I tell you talk about class. He's just a class individual. Has had an opportunity. His jersey hung up there. Was a national player of the year. Johnny Dawkins has had a lot of opportunities, but he loves it down here. And Mike Krzyzewski, to me, though, isn't going anywhere for a few years.
He's only 56 years old.
Exactly. He's not going anywhere. Just a granddad again. Had twins. His little girl had twins. Showed me pictures before the game.
So it looks like they're going to take a double-digit lead to the locker room. Tap back, no. And that's going to do it. An 11-point lead, and Mike is unhappy. He wanted to whistle, and he wanted to shoot free throws. And he's telling Larry Rose about it. He says, well, that's it. Forget about it. He's over to the locker room.
He said, it's my home court. You got to give me that call. It's my home court. That's Coach K, Mr. Intensity.
Now you can see here at the end as they brought it down with the final seconds ticking away, the penetrating move, and he thought there was contact. Didn't get the call. Clock runs out, and so Duke will take a 41-30 lead to the intermission here at Cameron Indoor Stadium, where the Blue Devils have won 35 consecutive games. And you would think, folks, they're well on their way to 36. Stay tuned now. Terry Gannon and Digger Phelps will be in the studio for the TGI Fridays halftime report after these messages. Cameron Indoor Stadium ready for the second half underway. The Duke Blue Devils with the first possession. Duhan brings it across the timeline and puts it in Reddick's hands.
He's the leading scorer at 11 in the first half, but it was great balance by Duke again, and that's been the story of their year, especially in those last 10 games with a margin over 26 a game.
Off the pump fake, Ewing hits the first shot of the second half.
I'll tell you, nothing like having guys on a perimeter can make shots. It hides a lot of liabilities, and that's one of the great pluses over the years with Duke, having excellent perimeter shooters.
Covered up brilliantly by Duhan, who's done an excellent job on him. Strickland's shot is blocked off the drive. We take a look, Dick, at our first half numbers.
I'll tell you a number that we don't see up there, but we see, oh yes we do. We see the blocks by Duke, but Mr. Williams had 6 blocks, 9 as a team, averaging 7.1, school record 6.3. That record could go this year.
Gray misses, but pushing. called as they go for the rebound underneath. Ewing had what he thought was favorable rebounding position, but he pushed a little bit too hard.
Hey, Brent, the next 4 minutes here, I think, are vital to Wake Forest. They have to get a spurt of some kind. So many times we talk about how significant it is the first 4 minutes after the half, and especially when you're down 13 and you're on the road against a team that's won 35 in a row at home.
There's Gray knocking down the 3, and that'll get him back into this game in a hurry. He has 9 points so far, so he has been their leading 3-ball shooter here in this game. He's now 3 of 5.
And we expect that from him. He made 8 in the last game. Former roomie of Carmelo Anthony at Oak Hill Academy in Virginia.
You know, my partner, Dick Vitale, was talking about the great balance, and when you take a look at this Duke team, we've raved about their defense in the first half. Dick, you've talked about the balance. The one thing they might not have, maybe, if you get them into a real tight game, the go-to guy when you gotta have a basket.
Well, you know, you talk about a star player, the great superstars they've had in the past. They always had that kind of player with a Jason Williams, certainly a Grant Hill during that era when they won the back-to-back titles. Christian Laettner was special. But I think Redick can make shots at a crunch time. I really do. And I think Duhon has improved so much on the perimeter.
Williams comes back. Dick, let me ask you about Redick. Late in a game, can he create off the dribble against intense pressure? Let's say it was Connecticut and Duke on a neutral site in an NCAA tournament. Can he do it?
You try to set up a national championship game already. Connecticut and Duke.
I just said neutral site.
We'll have Connecticut and Duke, men's and women's. I'll tell you right now, I really believe with the way they screen, they can get him free. Can he do it on his own? No, that's not his forte. He is not that kind of player.
I'll tell you, after practice, Mike thought that maybe Ding was a little too unselfish, and they're wondering if maybe he won't step up. Gray battled for the field goal. Underneath, Levy comes away, and Wake Forest missed an opportunity that time.
Mike told me he's asked so much of Deng earlier, and he's sort of backed off now. Lately.
Yes.
4-on-1. You got to score here now. That's a good foul. That's a good foul. 4-on-1. Looks like a sure layup, and they're going to have to go to the free throw line to earn points. There's their coaching staff, Dawkins and Wojciechowski, outstanding guards. And right here, there's the foul by Redick. Not that I'm saying Wojo was in the class of Johnny Dawkins as a player, because Johnny was player of the year. Wojo was certainly an outstanding player. Chris Collins waited to right. His daddy certainly does a great job in basketball. Bob Collins.
Now, you know,
Paul, a little bump right there. Look at Brian Kirsten.
Rushed into Redick,
and then
offered his hand, and Redick walked away from it.
JJ, you got to shake his hand. Come on, he's the mayor of Winston-Salem. Shake the kid's hand. He's a diaper dandy. Come on, JJ Redick.
Across the timeline, 43-35.
These kids don't go to, I tell you can't knock them out. They just keep battling the Demon Deacons. They got the Screaming Deacons down here at Wake Forest. It's so tough to beat them. Beautiful school, great academic school. It's had some outstanding players over the years. There's a loss against Texas. It's a only loss. Ray had 27. Got really dominated on the glass. And this afternoon they're being beaten on the glass as well. Used that head fake, ball fake really well.
Ding steps out. Gets a screen. Gets inside now. Folks, that could be the go-to guy right there. That was pretty.
Great footwork right there. Really outstanding footwork for the diaper dandy.
Williams definitely a go-to guy for the Demon Deacons down low, using his muscle.
They just don't back away. Every time you make a big basket, they come right at you.
Lead is 8.
Early rebound, certainly the total goes to Duke by a +8. They were -14 against Texas. That's not normally what Wake Forest is about. Led the nation last year rebounding. And Josh Howard, you talk about a complete player, getting a lot of minutes now with the Dallas Mavericks. Look at Dick's footwork.
I think we have found it. I mean, that was wonderful the way he backed his way in that time, just didn't score. He played soccer until he was 12 years old. Paul on the drive. Williams picks down the offensive rebound against the triple teams. Got Paul on the other side for the layup.
Paul gets the layup on the inside. They find him off the double team. You know, you mentioned soccer. They say he was a better soccer player than he was a basketball player as a youngster.
And Paul, he was run right over. Coming back on defense.
A lot of contact out there.
Ewing's open. This is the three. Tap, Wake's ball. Here comes the freshman.
Nice pass.
Looking for the three. Got it. Great recognition by Paul. He hit Gray. 14 for Gray. Wake is within three.
Great look, anticipation. Tremendous job in transition by the diaper dandy. Paul, one of the leading assist men. Oh, he ran him down. Incidental contact, they said.
Welcome to the ACC.
NCAA basketball on ABC Sports, brought to you by the all-new Toyota Tundra Double Cab. Not just big, life-sized. MasterCard, there are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. And McDonald's.
Duke's biggest lead in the first half, 13 points. They were up 11 at the intermission, and Gray has 8 of Wake's 12 points here in the second half. So Digger Phelps mentioned that he was the purest shooter on this team when he was talking to Terry Gannon, and he has fired the Deacons back into the game here, Dick.
Yeah, we had mentioned earlier he's going to have to find that three for them to get in the game, and certainly Paul has done an excellent job distributing the ball.
After the timeout, it's Ewing netting the three. He has 13 for the Blue Devils.
Well, Ewing letting the three ball fly like Terry Gannon used to do when he played for a late buddy of ours, Jimmy V. Duke up 6.
We'll take a timeout.
Hey, Brad, it's so important on a basketball court to have court awareness, to know where people are. We're going to watch right now 4 people. Freeze it. Look at 4 guys. That means somebody's going to be open, and right about here, he's going to find an open guy. Mr. Paul is going to be the beneficiary and get himself an easy layup because 4 guys were all around Eric Williams.
Here's Gray handling the ball. Ewing's all over him.
Back screen.
Beautiful back screen, Dick, that time. And Jamal Levy, the 6'9" junior, one of their best rebounders, put it down. 8 for the game for Levy.
Levy with that cut off the back screen. A poor job by Duke. A lot of people don't communicate well on back screen. Back screens are so difficult to defend, especially when they come from the help side.
Levy's the only player saddled with 3 fouls. They have quite a few with 2, but Levy is the only player who has 3 with 14:58 to go. Strickland picks up the foul. Get out high against Reddick that time. Alert reminds you, Big Monday on ESPN, highlighted by 2 great games here. Pittsburgh at Connecticut. You saw the highlights at the intermission. Pittsburgh goes in undefeated to Storrs. And then Oklahoma against Texas Tech. Shot is missed, but Williams comes down with the rebound and a putback for the Blue Devils.
Sheldon Williams on the inside. Hey, Brad, there's only 4 unbeatens in college basketball. Pittsburgh, one of them with St. Joe's, Cincinnati, and Stanford. Where do you see Cincinnati? Bobby Huggins' club is for real.
All the freshman sticks right with it, even though Ding was on him.
Nice try.
There's Williams down with the offensive rebound. The muscle back, no.
He wanted a foul on the inside. The big guy's got to give it up.
Oh, does Ding handle the ball for a big guy? Reddick on the other side. But folks, that is something. Watching 6'8" freshman Luol Ding put it on the floor.
Puts it on the floor, but a wide open J.J. Reddick. Mr. Musburger, you never leave him open. And never, ever leave him open. Don't ever even think about leaving him open. You can't leave that kid open, Mr. Musburger.
Well, you're between a rock and a hard place. If a 6'8" guy comes down who can handle like that, Dick, you can hardly get off of him and chase somebody after the 3 ball.
No question. He spotted up. They run the transition game. They run Reddick.